We do have some breaking news to cover. Of course, we are still talking about the conversation, the Pentagon. They went back and forth because Pete Hegseth says, hey, he pretty much came out and made a moment revealing really what happened about Operation Midnight Hammer, revealing, look, they're having to really go out of their way now to try to debunk claims that this did not work.
Right.
However, that is only because the press has done this to them. And people who just want to really devalue President Trump and the Trump administration, that's their whole plan. And if their whole plan is that, well, it's sad that we have to have a point where Pete Hegseth has to go out on the defense of this over and over day after day.
Yeah, it's hard to declare victory and talk about the victory when the media is so quick to undermine it before the dust has even settled on Fordo. So what we're seeing here now is both General Kane as well as Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of Defense, pushing back, doing a press conference, an early morning press conference, not normal for what you see out of the Pentagon, but pushing back on these claims and these leaks. They're also pointing to the CIA and the Director of National Intelligence that it's now their role to gather the intelligence of what the successes were in the Fordo strike. But they also have to go forward and show, unfortunately, how successful things were, like the conversion plant, where without that, they can't turn the uranium gas into uranium metal to put on a warhead. And these things that keep being brought up and up and up by this fake news media trying to declare a failure instead of a victory.
I think it's an opportunity to hear from Pete Hegseth himself. Let's go and listen to this. Look, this is a bit of a long bite, but again, I always make sure you have full context of what's going on. Here's Pete.
There's been a lot of discussion about what happened and what didn't happen. Step back for a second. Because of decisive military action, President Trump created the conditions to end the war, decimating, choose your word, obliterating, destroying Iran's nuclear capabilities. I want to read some of the assessments that have been provided, because whether it's fake news, CNN, MSNBC, or the New York Times, there's been fawning coverage of a preliminary assessment. I've had a chance to read it. Every outlet has breathlessly reported on a preliminary assessment from DIA. I'm looking at it right now. Again, it was preliminary, a day and a half after the actual strike, when it admits itself in writing that it requires weeks to accumulate the necessary data to make such an assessment. It's preliminary. It points out that it's not been coordinated with the intelligence community at all. There's low confidence in this particular report. It says in the report there are gaps in the information. It says in the report multiple linchpin assumptions are what this assessment, a linchpin assumption, you know what that is? That means your entire premise is predicated on a linchpin. If you're wrong, everything else is wrong. And yet, and still, this report acknowledges it's likely severe damage. Again, this is preliminary, but leaked because someone had an agenda to try to muddy the waters and make it look like this historic strike wasn't successful.
I hate that Hegseth has to do this.
Right.
I really do. Because when I watched that moment unfold, President Trump came out with Pete by his side, Marco Rubio, and I said, you know what? President Trump picked the right guys for this job. Pete took a lot of heat, unnecessary heat. And look what he was able to do. Only people with that kind of military expertise who really have been there, know it, could have done something like this. Let's go to Larice, who's calling in Texas. You're on the air.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that during the Afghanistan withdrawal, there was crickets. Then all of a sudden, we actually hit the target, and then they get negative. That makes no sense to me. And also, it's really dangerous for military because it pretty much says we can't hit the target. Oh, don't worry about the U.S. They can't hit any targets. You see what they did in Iran? They didn't hit anything. Now, let's just do what we want to do because there's no fear of being held accountable.
Larice, 100%. Will's actually got a follow-up to that because I've said this. Who does this benefit? It only benefits people who have historically been known. This is not Gaza. This is not some politically motivated where you go, oh, I'm on the one side or the other, humanitarian crisis, whatever it is. This is the Iranian government that has been in control since the 70s, who have been hurting their own people, and we all know this. Kamala Harris said the number one threat to America was Iran a few months ago. Okay, this isn't political or partisan, but because there is a Trump administration, it will become political and partisan. And just like you said, Larice, you're going, oh, look at America again. Our brave soldiers flew from Missouri to Iran, a 19-hour flight, multiple refuels midair, dropped precision strike bombs, and now got out of there before anyone even knew they were there, and you're going to try to discredit them? Not on our watch. That's not going to happen here. But that is precisely what the news is doing.
That's right. And just to show how correct that Pete Hegseth was in those attacks on the media, pushing back at their reporting, this is a piece that came out last night. I saw it late at night from the New York Times. Rubio fleshes out Trump's case that Iran nuclear capacity was eliminated. Then here's the subheadline to it. Secretary of State Marco Rubio said U.S. strikes had destroyed a facility that is key to turning highly enriched nuclear fuel into a working bomb. He railed against a less optimistic U.S. intelligence report. Okay, so that's the framing of the article. That's the headline, subheadline. A few paragraphs down, there is this paragraph written by someone at the New York Times who clearly has an agenda to politicize this and make sure that it seems like Trump is a liar and a failure. Mm-hmm. Listen to this. By the end of his trip to the Netherlands, Mr. Trump seemed as focused on proving he has obliterated, in quotes, Iran sites as he once was on proving he had the largest inauguration crowd. They are comparing the argument with President Trump. Everyone knew he loved to talk about the inauguration crowd. That is the same thing as him talking about taking out an existential threat to the United States and Israel, an Iranian nuclear program. They are trying to say that he claiming victory and success is a vanity project for him. They are trying to diminish the work of the U.S. military and the extremely well thought out plan. And we're getting to that in a little bit too, because General Raising Cane, he talked about how detailed, how long the U.S. military has been studying this and focusing on Fordo. And the New York Times journalist tries to make a cute reference to the inauguration crowd argument and turn that as an analogy to the president of the United States saying, we have taken out Iran's nuclear capability. One is a crowd size and the other is national security. When they say these journalists should lose their jobs, how did this get past an editor? Do they think that's funny? Do they think American national security is a hilarious joke that these bunker buster bombs went and hit Fordo and they can laugh about it? Like maybe we aren't that good.
You act like these companies can afford editors at this point.
That's
so I think
fair.
it's maybe you're the only one reading it.
Well, Logan, I have to read it so I can get enraged by their writing and tell the people.
You hate watch or hate read a lot.
Well, something like that fires you up in the evening.
All right, let's go to Michael, who's calling from Florida on line 4. He's watching on YouTube. Michael, you're on the air.
Gentlemen, how sad is the state of affairs for our mainstream media if you can get more straight answers from Mad Magazine than you can CNN?
Michael, look, as a former subscriber to Mad Magazine, I'm just going to say proud subscriber, I think you're right. And of course, Mad sadly has gone away. They are now only running best ofs. But I see your point, Michael. That's just my nerdiness. It is true that I think that is why people have turned to alt media, including comedians, by the way, Joe Rogan, all of these names, because weirdly, you feel like you can get more unbiased news from the top comic voices in the country than you can from CNN, from MSNBC. And look, sometimes I'll say, even with Vox, look, all of them, you can get more actual what people are thinking through independent productions. That's what we do here. We are fully independent. Sure, we're on a lot of radio stations in your local markets. We're on the Salem News Channel, but none of them are telling us what to do and what to say. We don't play by those rules. Sure, there's FCC rules, but other than that, which we wouldn't violate anyway. Other than that, though, we can give you our opinions whether you like them or not. That's why I love this show. That's why I love what we do here at the ACLJ. It's not about parroting a party line. It's not about parroting some sort of political bias. I know I've made our audience mad with my points of view, or when I feel then I'm going to be honest with you. If I feel like a case is not going to go anywhere, or I feel like something is not worth the time of America. But that's why you have independent journalism. That's why you have independent news shows. That's why you have shows like ours that are completely independent, and the organizations like ours, because we're able to do that. And you're right. More people are paying attention to that and understanding it than our CNN. More people watch our show than watch a lot of CNN. We just crossed over 500,000 subs. That's just subs on YouTube. Okay. We're on some other platforms where it's growing also hundreds of thousands, millions, and millions watch just on YouTube a week. Millions. They would kill for those numbers.
I think we should listen to what General Kane said at this presser as well.
General Raisin Kane.
I do love it. I love the nickname. But this is him talking about when they targeted Fordo. It wasn't like they just decided, okay, let's try a bunker buster bomb and go for it. Here's how long an individual and a team of two were studying this site and how much they knew about it because of a very hardworking American at the Defense Threat Reduction Agency. So this is General Kane talking about an unnamed individual for their safety. Okay. Let's listen to bite 2.
In 2009, a Defense Threat Reduction Agency officer was brought into a vault at an undisclosed location and briefed on something going on in Iran. For security purposes, I'm not going to share his name. He was shown some photos and some highly classified intelligence of what looked like a major construction project in the mountains of Iran. He was tasked to study this facility, work with the intelligence community to understand it, and he was soon joined by an additional teammate. For more than 15 years, this officer and his teammate lived and breathed this single target, Fordo, a critical element of Iran's covert nuclear weapons program. He studied the geology. He watched the Iranians dig it out. He watched the construction, the weather, the discard material, the geology, the construction materials, where the materials came from. He looked at the vent shaft, the exhaust shaft, the electrical systems, the environmental control systems, every nook, every crater, every piece of equipment going in and every piece of equipment going out.
And that is what led to the development of the bunker busting bomb. Because he could tell based off the soil that was coming out how far deep in that mountain it was. Based off the ventilation equipment, everything. This is an individual, an American, a brave American that couldn't talk about this with his family. He worked with one other person on this for 15 years and knew everything there is to know about this secret site and how to attack it. And we developed the weapons. And that's exactly what the President of the United States deployed on that site just a few days ago. Yep. And the media is going to sit here and try to lecture the world that maybe we're not that effective and only do one thing, help out the Ayatollahs with their PR campaign.
Yep. We are so excited to announce the ACLJ's brand new app, completely redesigned to provide you with the best tools available to partner with us at the ACLJ. You can watch the daily Seculo program, sign the petitions, customize your ACLJ membership experience, donate with the click of a button, and receive up-to-the-minute critical updates that the mainstream media can't censor. Just scan the QR code on your screen or go to your phone's app store, search ACLJ, and click install. It's that simple.